Hello viewers, welcome back to the channel. Now today we are reviewing this, the Enve Melee. Now I gave you a first look at this bike last year, so almost a year ago, but I've actually been riding this bike for the last few months, so a nice long-term test. And in this video I'll share all my thoughts about this new bike with you, go through some key features and what sets it apart from other bikes in the category, share my likes and gripes, talk about the price, build, weight, and of course go for a ride and see how it performs and handles. Now I don't often do this, but if you do enjoy the videos here on Just Ride Bikes and you haven't yet subscribed, what are you playing at? Hit that button down below. Anyway, let's dive in, take a close look at the bike and see what it's all about. Well, Enve calls it a modern road racer, which I think is their attempt to make a race bike for people like me, middle-aged men who don't race anymore, but still harbour ambitions to ride fast when they can. A race bike for the real world, you might say. Now, on first impressions, it's just another aero bike. We have all the usual truncated tube profiles to minimise drag, but there are some real standout features. Number one is space for up to 35mm wide tyres, and the second one are fender mounts or mudguard mounts. And there aren't many aero race bikes with space for such wide tyres and mudguard mounts. And that sort of tyre clearance and ability to fit mudguards is something you expect on an endurance bike, not an aero race bike. That desire to be a modern road racer is reflected in part in the aero testing data the company has provided. Now normally with an aero race bike, the testing speeds are really high, 45, 50k an hour, the usual stuff you expect, because those bikes are designed, after all, for the pros who ride very fast indeed. But Enve has done its testing from 32k an hour up to 40, and then also 48 as well. But the fact they've done the testing and optimized the bike to excel at those lower speeds, which I think most of us hopefully can achieve on a good day, is an encouraging move for that desire to be a modern road racer. So you don't have to go flat out, balls to the wall to achieve the marginal aero gains you might get. So it seems to be ticking the aero boxes, but a bike, whether for racing or not, needs to be lightweight. They're claiming 850 grams for a size 56 painted frame, which is pretty good, well below a kilo. And this bike, as you see it, a size 56, weighs 7.2 kilos on my scale. So pretty decent weight for an aero bike with space of wide tyres and fender mounts. Enve is known for being a premium high-end brand, and that is reflected in the price of the new bike. Now, they aren't offering complete bikes. Instead, you buy a frame set module, which includes the frame, fork, handlebar, stem, and seat post. And it's important to note you can choose the length stem and the width handlebar you want. Now, the price of that frame set module is £5,500, which is a lot of money, but par for the course for a high-end frame like this. Now, that new Tarmac SL8 is cheaper, but you do have to factor in another £500 for their new one-piece handlebar and stem, so the price does come a bit closer. And with an Ultegra Di2 group set, foundation 45 wheels and Enve tyres and their own saddle done in combination with Cell Italia, retails for about £10,000, which is a lot of cash. I don't think Enve really has the size and buying power to compete on price and value for money with the likes of Specialized and Treks and Giants and Canyons and so on. And that's reflected in what you can get for less money from other bike brands. So for example, the brand new Specialized Tarmac SL8 and a Canyon Aero with a top level dual race Di2 group set with a power meter is quite a bit less money as well. So let me share some likes and gripes with you after riding a bike for the last few months. My first like is the handlebar and stem. I love the fact it's a two-piece design, so you can swap the stem, handlebar for narrower, shorter, wider, whatever it is. That's really cool. And I love the shape of the handlebar. It's aero, but quite slim, so easy to fit your hands around when you're cruising along, and loads of bar tape as well. Flared drops as well, so more control when you're in the drops and descending and cornering. And we have a K-Edge computer mount as well with a GoPro mount underneath, really solid, not flimsy at all. So the whole cockpit setup is really smart. I really like this feature about the bike. The wide tyre clearance on this bike is an amazing feature. Most race bikes max out these days at 32, but 35 is the stuff of endurance bikes, the same as that Canyon Endurace I reviewed the other day. Lots of you will know I love mudguards, and here in the UK it's not always sunny like it is today. It's very often wet, even in the summer, not just the winter. Crazy, I know. So the fact we have mudguard mounts is a big thumbs up for me, and they add no weight, or very little weight if any. You can't really see them, they're so well hidden away. So for me, they're a no-brainer. When there's clearance for wide tyres and you fit mudguards, why not? And the other like, for all you haters of press fit, is a T47 bottom bracket. One nice detail is the use of a decent sized bolt for the seat clamp here. Some bikes have a tiny bolt and you're scared of rounding it off when you do torque it up, or it's hidden away underneath here, you can't get to it very easily. But there's easy to access, it's a decent size, and I've had no slipping issues through my time riding the bike. But there is a gripe with the seat post itself. I'm really not a fan of the 2-bolt wedge system used by Enve here. I find it really tricky to install a saddle on this and get it all set up right. But thankfully, once it's set up, it's fine, but getting it there is much trickier than it needs to be. The biggest gripe with the bike, and it's perhaps a personal subjective one, and you let me know what you think by leaving a comment down below, is how the bike looks. Now sadly in the UK you get a choice of one colour, although in the US you get a choice of 2 colours with a lovely blue. But for a bike of this price, I think it's a bit of a shame you don't get more option with the colours. You do with Specialized and Pinarellos, so if they can manage it, why can't Enve manage it? I'm undecided about the graphical treatment, the decals and logos. On a positive, it's understated and classy. On the other, a bit bland and boring. The geometry is kind of interesting on this bike too. Generally, it's all the typical race bike numbers, wheelbase, seat tube angle, head tube angle, and so on. But one key detail is the stack. The head tube is a lot taller than a Giant TCR Advanced or a Specialized Tarmac SL8. Not by much, between 6 and 9 millimeters, so not a big difference, but a significant one, it has to be said. The reach is about the same, a tiny bit shorter by a few millimeters than those aforementioned bikes. Now, as you can see, I have the stem slammed, but many race bikes have quite a stack of spaces underneath the stem, like the Tarmac I rode the other day and the Carnago V4 RS. So this taller head tube is a way around having a big chimney of spaces, but giving you a handlebar height that works when you're racing, which is riding for fun and speed. And I'd rather have a taller head tube than a short head tube and loads of spacers. So that is quite a smart move. So hands up, who rides a race bike but doesn't actually race? Yeah, me too. And there's nothing wrong with that, it's fine. I love the speed and the way a race bike handles, but I do miss and crave some of the more practical features, which where the Melee scores so well. It reacts like a race bike. It's poppy, it's snappy, lively, and very engaging, and definitely very fast, even with me on it. But the high stack, the space of wide tyres, and the mudguard mounts means the bike I can ride into the autumn and winter with changing wheels and tyres and some mudguards, and that makes this a really exciting option, because rather than put your race bike away for the winter for fear of wearing it out or damaging it, you can keep riding it. The fit of the bike is really good for me. 5'11", 181 centimeters, and the fit is absolutely perfect. Not too slammed, not too high, nice stretch to the hood and the drops, working really well. One of the common themes of modern road bikes, whatever category you come from, is the increasing comfort. It's something I talk about and focus on a lot as a person who doesn't race but craves a bike that's not going to beat them up. And the comfort and smoothness of this Enve Melee is a real standout feature. For a bike that retains all that agility and stiffness of a race bike for climbing, sprinting, racing. It has a UCI sticker on the seat tube. The comfort it offers over my local roads, even with a fairly narrow tyre, is astonishing. It's smoother than that Tarmac SL8, but not as smooth as that Canyon Enduro Race, and splits the difference really nicely between the two bikes. A real interesting kind of sweet spot between race and endurance. If you're not quite ready for a full-blown endurance bike and still want a race bike essentially, this could be the bike for you. And after riding for the last few months, I've been so impressed with how easy it is to live with and how it just looks after me and does everything so well, from a 100-mile steady pace ride to a lunchtime blast when you're smashing up the hills and sprinting as hard as you can go. So in many ways it does feel like a race bike, but it doesn't have the snarling aggression of a pure race bike. That Colnago V4 RS I reviewed a few weeks ago was a lot more exciting, way more dynamic, way more reactive and stiffer, and just a really exciting bike to ride. Great for racing, but when you're not racing or trying to ride fast and hurt yourself, it requires a lot of mental energy. It's a very busy ride, very involving ride. It never really calms down, never really settles down, which you want it to do on a long, steady ride, like a weekend social, say. And that's where Melee works so well. It can do that highly responsive race bike thing, plenty of stiffness, it climbs well, not much weight to it, so it gets up climbs really well. Good stiffness when you're sprinting, trying to beat your mates in a sprint contest, but it can settle down into a really nice distance, mile munching bike and look after you on those big epic summer adventures. The refinement of the bike is very good. No noises, rattles, squeaks, got a T47 bottom bracket, so no press fit woes to worry about. The hoses inside the frame don't rattle. It's a very well built, very solid bike. And the ride quality is fantastic too. It's about as smooth as it gets for something that isn't a fat tire endurance or gravel bike. And it does float over rough roads really well. And I haven't even maxed out the tyre clearance on this bike. So scope to go much wider on the tyres, but even more comfort if you want it. So after riding it for several months, I do get what Enve is talking about when he calls it a modern road racer. It's as fast as it is practical. And for me, that's a really enticing combination. Specialized may claim their new Tarmac SL8 is one bike to rule them all. But I think the Enve Melee might have an opinion on that. So is the Enve Melee worth buying, or should you buy the new Tarmac SL8 instead? Well, I've ridden both bikes, and I think if you're concerned about weight, as many people are, and you want that racier position from a lower front end and a better choice of colours and potentially more aero, the Tarmac SL8 is a better choice. But I think the Enve Melee is a smarter choice for lots of people, myself included, because we have space of wide tyres and we have mudguard mounts as well, which makes it a great bike for year-round riding. I do see lots of people riding their carbon race bikes through the winter with clip-on mudguards or no mudguards at all. Not everybody has a garage full of bikes. They have one bike and they ride it year-round. So why not have one where you fit mudguards and wide tyres? I think it's a fantastic option. Personally, I could happily sell my Giant TCR and buy this instead, because it does everything I want. It's fast with me on it, space of wide tyres, good comfort, nice geometry, and of course mudguard mounts. So it ticks a lot of boxes for sure. Anyway, let me know what you think of this bike by leaving a comment down below. Got any questions, I'll do my best to answer them as always. And if you want to see a review of that Tarmac SL8 and see how it stacks up, then do watch this video right up here. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, especially if you haven't already, by hitting the button right here. But that's all for today. Thank you so